Yeah. Live free.
Come on.
Fourth tribe
YAH.
for 100 centuries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go. Take a look at my soul. Nothing left but these hoes. They tried to take me down, but Yah is in control. So now I ask you, you suddenly black too. The oppressor ain't fair when he attacked you. Started wars cause they tried to tax you. You should be asking who they was taxing. Now what prices on our backs, and the IRS wanted in on the back end. Lincoln was never down for emancipation, just good political relations to try to make a good case for the next election. Yet Jim Crow came right back in the field, certified with a government seal. Crowley tried to stand up with zeal. Sadly, he thought that Jesus was real. They gave us them fake news and education to keep us concealed.
Take a look at my soul. All I wanna do is go. There's nothing left of me. Of this horrid slavery. For 100 centuries, there's nothing left for you to hold. All I want to be is with my Yah and live free.
Come on. For 100 centuries of this horrid slavery. But Yah, he is the king, and he will save me. So now I ask you, will you drop to your knees and beg Yah, please? Don't you know that Yah is coming? It's like tomorrow. I can't even tell you the time on your Audemars. Just guard your heart, baby Paul, baby doll. Don't cry. Paparazzi never cared about them tears. No way. Just fear my Yah all day. Rest in him, just like the song say. I'm waiting for the day that he sit on the throne. Till then I'm stuck in my zone, staying focused on the day when he finally take us home. Till then I'm prophesying to the dry bones. Till that day that I'm gone and Yah reveal what he has shown. That Yahweh is Elohim, is him and none alone.
Take a look at my soul. All I wanna do is go. There's nothing left of me of this horrid slavery. For 100 centuries, nothing left for you to hold. All I want to be is with my Yah and live free. All I want to be is with my Yah and live free. All I want to be is with my Yah and live free. All I want to be is with my Yah and live free. All I want to be is with my Yah and live free. Live free. Yeah. Take a look at my soul. All I wanna do is go. There's nothing left of me of this horrid slavery. For 100 centuries, left for you to hold. All I want to be is with my Yah and live free. All I want to be is with my Yah and live free.
Yeah.
Praise Yah.
Kokma and then A and Da'ath and night. Counsel to fear Yah and adore his light. These are the spirits we need in our life. To walk uprightly, be pleasing his sight. All we seen was the terror and pestilence. All we need is Yahweh's deliverance. We need wisdom to shine like the seven suns. Understanding that Yahweh's the only one. You was lied to about the begotten son. We destroyed like your knowledge, but all I ask for, what's that? Is the spirit of Yah. So all I breathe is the spirit of Yah. So all they see is the spirit of hate. So all my pleas is to enter Yah's gates. And as they grieve, see his word take shape. So plain to see that Yahweh is great. All I need, Yah's
Yah's all I need. Your Ruach Kodesh, my Yah. I must confess, my Yah is all I need. Yahweh is all I need. Your Ruach Kodesh, my Yah. I must confess, my Yah is all I need.
Trust in my Yahweh with all of your heart. Keep his commandments, from evil depart. Give Yah his praise when sunrise the day starts. Keep all his paths, Yah will light up the dark. All I yearn for is the spirit of Yah. All I long for is the spirit of Yah. Too long we been disappeared from my Yah. Not sincere with my Yah, unaware of my Yah. Quite unfair to my Yah. Do we care for our Yah, the fountain of living waters? Why you think he drying all the oceans? Why you keep choosing presidents and keep voting? Worshiping in the man and who you hoping? He got his hand around your neck, he cashing in. You keep choking like blind at noonday. We keep groping. I beg for the day Yah's judgment's overflowing. Yah got me high on this oxytocin.
Yah's all I need. Your Ruach Kodesh, my Yah. I must confess, my Yah is all I need. Yahweh is all I need. Your Ruach Kodesh, my Yah. I must confess, my Yah is all I need.
Kokma and Ben A and Da'ab and mites. Counsel to fear Yah and adore his light. These are the spirits we need in our life. To walk uprightly, be pleased in his sight. Trust in my Yahweh with all of your heart. Keep his commandments, from evil depart. Give Yah his praise when sunrise the day starts. Keep all his plans, Yahweh light up the dark. Blessed is the man that walks not with Rasha, nor goes in the way of the sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scorners. Return none to Yah, I'm trying to warn ya.
All I need, Yah's all I need. Ruach Kodesh, my Yah. I must confess, my Yah is all I need. All I need, Yah's all I need. Your Ruach Kodesh, my Yah. I must confess, my Yah is all I need. Yahweh is all I need. Your Ruach Kodesh, my Yah. I must confess, my Yah is all I need.
Yeah. Yahweh, he's all I need. Praise Yah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Praise the mighty Yah. Yah is righteous, Yah is holy, and let Yahweh be magnified. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Welcome to another beautiful broadcast of Nothing But the Truth. I am Mowreh YisraEL from the house of YIsraEL of Cincinnati, located at 2330 Kemper Lane, here to bring you nothing but the truth. And we'd like to say shalom to everyone that is tuned in into our listening audience, for we know that the reason that you have tuned into our program is because of your great fear and your great love toward the mighty Yah. And who is this Yah? Yahweh is the creator of the heaven, earth, and sea, and all that therein is. Yahweh is the only king, the only judge, the only lawgiver, the only redeemer, and the only savior of Yisrael in the world. And Yahweh is the one that has ordained us to bring you his words of truth. And that's what we will do. And today, in this week, we've been dealing with the institution of marriage. Marriage, and the institution of marriage, is the way of life in the earth. There is no other way to maintain and to abide in relationship according to Yahweh in holiness other than through some kind of marriage. The Almighty deals with us through marriage. And he wants us to deal in our households through marriage. Households are not established in what they would call outside of wedlock. This is not how one establishes a house. And Yahweh has his house. As a matter of fact, he said in the book of Amos, the 3rd chapter, the 1st verse, that's Amos, the 3rd chapter. Start reading at verse 1.
Hear this word that Yahweh hath spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities.
So the only family the Almighty Yahweh knows is the house of Israel. Look what it says in Jeremiah, the 10th chapter, the 1st verse.
Hear ye the word which Yahweh speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen.
So this is the word Yah speaks unto the house of Israel. And he deals through families through how the house is established. Look in Jeremiah, the 29th chapter. The Creator will show you how the house is established. It's not established through your bank accounts. It's not established through your professions. It's not established through any other means that you may think is established. But this is how your household is established. Jeremiah 29, verse 4.
Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, unto all that are carried away captives, whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem unto Babylon. Build ye houses.
Build ye houses.
And dwell in them.
Dwell in them.
And plant gardens.
Plant gardens.
And eat the fruit of them.
Eat the fruit of them.
Take ye wives.
Take ye wives.
And beget sons and daughters.
And begin a family.
And take wives for your sons.
And allow your children to begin families. This is your house. This is your house. It's established through marriage. Even in the book of Psalms 127, the 1st verse.
Except Yahweh build a house.
If Yahweh ain't build a house,
they labor in vain that build it.
You'll labor in vain. So how did you build your house? Go to the book of Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter. And in Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter, I want you to begin reading in verse 6 or verse 5.
And the officers shall speak unto the people, saying, what man is there that hath built a new house?
What man has built a new house
and hath not dedicated it?
And you haven't even dedicated this house?
Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man dedicate it.
Somebody else come and dedicate your house. That's not good.
And what man is he that hath planted a vineyard
See, just like Jeremiah 29, you build a house, you plant a garden,
and hath not yet eaten of it?
eat of the fruit, enjoy the fruit of your labor.
Let him also go and return unto his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man eat of it. And what man is there that hath betrothed a wife,
If you betrothed a wife, meaning you became engaged to a woman, because that's what a wife means. The wife, IshiYAH, means woman. So who have betrothed a woman, engaged, reserved a woman for marriage? Who has betrothed a wife,
and hath not taken her,
and you haven't taken her, which means married her, mastered her,
let him go and return unto his house,
go return unto your house,
lest he die in the battle,
lest you die in the battle,
and another man take her.
and another man marry her, another man take her. Because this is how you establish your house. And this is how the Most High established his house, through marriage. Look what it says in the book of Isaiah, the 66th chapter. The first verse.
Thus saith Yahweh, the heaven is my throne,
Heaven is Yahweh's throne. And he's not joking. This is where he sits. The heaven is my throne.
and the earth is my footstool.
This is where his foot rests, and that doesn't make the earth flat. That's where his foot rests.
Where is the house that ye build unto me?
Where's the house that you build unto me?
And where is the place of my rest?
And where's the place of Yahweh's rest? Where's his house? And how are you building Yah's house? How does Yahweh establish things? Through this system, this institution of marriage. And marriage is an institution that describes how relationships should be conducted. It's the pathway of how you conduct relationships with people you love. And what kind of people should you be loving anyway? Go to the book of Psalms 15. Start at the first verse.
Yahweh, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Who shall dwell in thy holy hill? He that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness,
And speaketh the truth in his heart.
he that backbiteth not with his tongue,
This is who's going to be with Yah, nor doeth evil to his neighbor,
nor taketh up a reproach against his neighbor.
in whose eyes
A vile person is contemned,
but he honoreth them.
that fear Yahweh,
He sweareth to his own hurt.
and changeth not.
See, this is what Yahweh looks at as honorable. He says, the righteous honor them that fear Yahweh. And how do you honor those that fear Yahweh? You don't return your words void. You go into a certain kind of relationship with them where your word is your bond. And this is called a covenant. Go to the book of Isaiah, the 41st chapter. You're going to see how Yahweh dealt with those that fear him. In Isaiah, the 41st chapter, start reading in verse 8.
But thou, Israel, art my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen,
Jacob, whom I chosen,
the seed of Abraham, my friend.
the seed of Abraham, my friend. Abraham is Yahweh's BFF. What's that? Best friend forever? That's who Abraham is. Yahweh's best friend. And I know this is Yahweh's best friend because this is literally the only person that Yahweh ever called his friend. You don't see no one else being referred to as a friend to Yahweh. He said he speaks to Moses face to face as a man speaks to his friend, but he literally called Abraham his friend. And this is his best friend. So much so of a good friend was Yahweh to Abraham, he's made it see fit that all of Abraham's seed would be his seed. Meaning, he said, your seed, Abraham, is my seed. I'm their father. I'm going to be their father. When you gone, I'm their father. That's where you get these God's parents from, God's sons, God fathers. That's what, and that's who becomes your God parent. Your parents' very good friends. And so Yahweh said Abraham is his friend. And so what did he do with Abraham? Look in the book of Genesis, the 17th chapter. Just showing you the Most High operates in this institution of marriage. And this institution of marriage starts to come into fruition through covenant. You have to have a covenant. And in Genesis 17, verse 1.
And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty Elohim. Walk before me and be thou perfect.
So he's letting him know, walk with me, walk before me. And be sincere, be wholehearted, be perfect.
And I will make my covenant between me and thee.
And I'm going to make a covenant between me and you, Abraham, because I'm going to honor you. You fear me, you walk with me, you keep my laws. You're honorable. So therefore, we're going to go into this covenant. And in this covenant, I'm going to attach myself to you, and you will attach yourself to me, and we will be together in this covenant forever. And in this covenant, I will be over your seed, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people, and there will be a sign, a token to this covenant that lets everybody know, you and your seed and everybody that cares to take a gander, they will know that you are in a covenant with me. Where else do you think signs of these covenants come from? Why do you think people want rings and bracelets and trinkets in this manner when they go into a marriage? Because there's a sign, there's a token, there's an indicator that you are in a marriage. You're in a covenant. You're in an agreement that has been given by your word that says you're bounded by your word, and here is the token. The ring is not the covenant. It is the token of the covenant. And for Abraham, it was the covenant of circumcision. This was the sign of the covenant. This covenant is an agreement between Yahweh in Abraham and his seed after him, that Yahweh will be our Elohim, meaning he is over us, and we will be his people. We are his servants. So there is a relationship established here. And this is how the house is built, through this covenant within the confines of this institution, what is called marriage. And if you look also in the book of Exodus, the 23rd chapter. Start reading in about the 30th verse.
By little and little I will drive them out from before thee, until thou be increased, and inherit the land. And I will set thy bounds from the Red Sea even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and thou shalt drive them out before thee.
So let's go a little bit before. Go to verse 27 so we can get the full capacity of what he's talking about.
I will send my fear before thee, and will destroy all the people to whom thou shalt come. And I will make all thy enemies turn their backs unto thee.
And I will send the hornets before thee, which shall drive out the Hivite,
The Canaanites
and the Hittite
from before thee.
So he's talking about when Israel goes into the land, he's going to drive out these Canaanites.
I will not drive them out from before thee in 1 year, lest the land become desolate, and the beasts of the field multiply against thee.
Yeah, because when everybody around the world went on lockdown, there were many cities across the world that their towns and their neighborhoods and their cities became overran with beasts, monkeys in Thailand, and I think it was can't remember what the other set of animals were. There was rats all in Louisiana, rats in various cities in Louisiana, especially New Orleans, and just various beasts just started having their way with the cities and the villages, because the people were not in the streets. They were not out. They were not there. And the animals thought, what's going on? I guess we could go and find something to eat. Nobody's around. And so Yah said he's not going to drive them out all in 1 year, because then the beasts will overtake the land.
By little and little I will drive them out from before thee,
Until thou hast been increased.
and inherit the land. And I will set thy bounds from the Red Sea even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand.
So he's letting you know he's going to drive these people out little by little. So that didn't mean when they first got into the land it would be just vastly empty and no people. No, he said they're going to be there, but I'm going to drive them out.
And thou shalt drive them out before thee. Thou shalt make no covenant with them,
But don't make no covenant with them,
nor with their gods.
nor with their deities. Don't make any covenants with them. Don't you enter into any kind of institution of marriage with these people. You don't bind yourself with them by going into a covenant, because these people didn't serve Yahweh. So why would you enter into a covenant with some heathens? Look in the book of Leviticus, or Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter. The Creator, this is how he builds a house. This is how we're to build our house and establish our house, even our communities and our nations, through marriage. As we learned yesterday, the Almighty became very disturbed when he saw his sons of Elohim married the daughters of men. For this act, he said, these people are violent and wicked. They're rebellious. They didn't adhere to Yahweh. And he destroyed them. And he saved Noah, who remained holy and walked with Elohim. And once he did that, he went into a covenant with Noah and the rest of the world, because Yahweh is the master of the universe. In Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, the Most High lets us know, if we start reading in verse 2. No, let's start the first verse.
When Yahweh thy Elohim shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it,
And has cast out many nations before you,
the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou.
and when Yah thy Elohim shall deliver them before you,
Thou shalt smite them.
and utterly destroy them.
Thou shalt make no covenant with them,
Don't make any covenants with them.
nor show mercy unto them.
Don't even be nice to them.
Neither shalt thou make marriages with them.
Neither shall you marry them. He don't want you joining to them at all, because they're not going to keep the way of Yah. You're not going to go into their land that he's giving you and start making covenants with them, and especially marrying them. So now why? He said you honor them that fear Yahweh. The Hivite don't fear Yahweh. The Hittite don't fear Yahweh. The Girgashite don't fear Yahweh. Why are you going to make a covenant with them? Yahweh gives covenants to those who are honorable. He said, don't do this thing. Neither shall you make marriages with them.
Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son.
Don't give your daughter to his son. Now your Hebrew holy daughter is going to have to be under the mastery of a heathen, someone who's not serving Yah. Don't give your daughter unto them.
Nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son.
And don't allow your son to have a Canaanite, someone that will tug at his heartstrings and pull him away from the service of Yah. Yahweh don't want this. And he don't want this because that's not establishing a house that he built. Therefore, you don't go into a covenant with evil people. You don't go into marriages with evil people. You don't make agreements with the wicked. That is not good. Why would you do such a thing? Yet the New Testament will let you know that if somebody compels you to go a mile, go with them twain. That you should not resist evil. And if you don't resist evil, then you accept evil. Then you go along with evil. If evil tells you to make an agreement and a covenant with them, you're not going to resist this. You're going to make it because you're following the ways of Christ. And Christ, of course, is not only fake, but his ways were the ways to death. So we don't just start marrying people and making agreements with people whom are against the way of Yah. That's not how you establish your house. Yahweh wants us in this covenant through honor. Why else would he say this in the book of Leviticus, the 26th chapter? See, now, when you consider marriage and this institution of it, you have to know that it is brought forth through a covenant, a binding contract that is made through your word. And you don't just give your word to somebody dishonorable. It said in Psalms 15, a vile person is contemned, but you honor them that fear Yahweh. Now, why would you marry a vile person? And why would you go into such agreements with a vile person? That is setting yourself up for failure. In the book of Leviticus, the 26th chapter, we begin reading in verse 40.
If they shall confess their iniquity.
Talking about the house of Yaakov. Talking about us here today in the land of our captivity.
If they shall confess their iniquity.
If you confess your iniquity.
And the iniquity of their fathers.
And the iniquity of your fathers.
With their trespass, which they trespassed against me.
And that they also have walked contrary unto me.
And that I also have walked contrary unto them.
And have brought them unto the land of their enemies.
If then their uncircumcised hearts be humbled.
And they then accept of the punishment of their iniquity.
Then will I remember my covenant with Jacob.
Then I will remember this covenant with Jacob.
And also my covenant with Isaac.
And with Yitzchak.
And also my covenant with Abraham.
And my covenant with Abraham.
Will I remember, and I will remember the land.
Yes, so Yahweh will then remember this agreement that we have with him, that he made with our ancestors. And once he sees our humility and our confession, he say, yes, that's who I made the covenant with. That's who I went into this marriage with Yaakov, Isaac, and Abraham, my friend. That's who I went into this agreement with. Yes, I am going to return unto them and return unto them their land, because now these are the people that are honoring me. That's why it's only a remnant anyway, because he knows everybody's not going to do it. And it's only the remnant that's going to do it. And he's going to see this, and he's going to honor you with the covenant he made. But it doesn't get made with the wicked. It doesn't get made with the rebellious. In Psalms 50:5.
Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice.
This is how the Most High operates. Marriage is a covenantal agreement. It is a relationship based in a covenant. There are different types of marriages, you can say. You have the marriage between a man and a woman, where a man, whom is called the husband, obtains a wife. And that's a marriage. But you have also this marriage where the Elohim, who is Yahweh, gets him a people. And he's married to them. But he made this covenant with honorable people. Those that made a covenant with him by sacrifice. And look in the book of Jeremiah, the 3rd chapter. Jeremiah chapter 3, start reading at verse 12.
Go and proclaim these words toward the north, and say, Return, thou backsliding Israel.
See, Yahweh is telling you to return, backsliding Israel.
Saith Yahweh, and I will not cause my anger to fall upon you. For I am merciful, saith Yahweh. I will not keep anger forever.
Only
Acknowledge thine iniquity, that thou hast transgressed against Yah thy Elohim, and hast scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree. And ye have not obeyed my voice, saith Yahweh.
turn.
O backsliding children, saith Yahweh, for I am married unto you.
He said, I am married unto you. He didn't necessarily say, for you are my wife. He didn't necessarily say that you're my woman, because that's what wife means. He said, I'm married unto you.
And I will take you one of a city,
And two of a family,
and I will bring you to Zion,
and I will give you pastors,
according to mine heart
which shall feed you with knowledge.
and understanding.
See, he said, I'm married unto you, and this is what I will do. And if you keep reading in the 16th verse,
And it shall come to pass, when ye be multiplied and increased in the land, in those days, saith Yahweh, they shall say no more, the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, neither shall it come to mind, neither shall they remember it, neither shall they visit it, neither shall they be done anymore.
because he's going to put the token of the covenant of the marriage in your heart. But you see the Most High letting you know where he is our master, and we serve him. Even look in Isaiah the 50th chapter. Verse 1.
Thus saith Yahweh, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement, whom I have put away? Or which of my creditors is to whom I have sold you? Behold, for your iniquities have you sold yourselves, and for your transgressions is your mother put away.
See, he's letting you know, look, you can't find this bill of divorcement. I didn't give no bill of divorcement. You only put away because you transgressing. So you're not able to come up to the Most High because of your transgressions. But I didn't divorce you, says Yahweh. I didn't give you any bill of divorcement. Just return. I'm married unto you. And what's this marriage? What is this word married? See, the Most High, he has marriages. But we also enter into marriages. And there's only one kind of relationship between a man and a woman that Yahweh honors. And it's called marriage. He doesn't respect your girlfriend and your boyfriend. He doesn't respect all of these different, various man-made titles of relationships that we enter into. You see, when Yahweh had a friend, he married his friend Abraham. He went into a covenant, and it's under this umbrella of the institution of marriage. The way that you interact in a covenant is the way you interact in a marriage. There's an agreement between certain parties, and you're married. And between a man and a woman, you can only have a righteous relationship in which you dwell together through marriage. Yahweh don't respect your girlfriend. He don't respect your boyfriend. He don't respect your live-in. What is that? Can you even show and come up with these type of relationships in the scriptures? No, Yahweh deals with marriage. And so, if you dealing in Yahweh's house, you got to be married. That's what you got to do. In the book of Genesis, the 2nd chapter, everybody running around today talking about how they don't need this and they don't need no man and they don't need no woman. But that's not how Yahweh built the world. In Genesis, the 2nd chapter, you begin reading in verse 16.
And Yahweh Elohim commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it.
That's what Yahweh said.
For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. And Yah Elohim said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet for him.
So Yahweh, he said it's not good that man should be alone. This is not a good thing for you, that you should be alone. I will give you a helpmeet.
And out of the ground Yah Elohim formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them.
So he made all these beasts, and he brought them to the man to see what he would call them.
And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof.
And you know this wasn't like you see today, all these different categories of animals and things. You know, Adam didn't spend years just, Yahweh made, these are foundational creatures, meaning you might see a deer, but a deer come from a whole nother animal, an original deer, somewhere in Africa. And this is now the offspring shoot of a deer somewhere. But the scientists will call it all kind of different names. And Adam just seen these animals and named them. And he said, whatsoever he would call them, every living creature, that was the name thereof. Verse 20.
And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helpmate for him.
So he noticed that, man, I'm naming all of these things. I'm seeing them, and they all have their mate. But I don't see one for me.
And Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. And he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yah Elohim had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, this is now a bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman.
Yeah, and in Hebrew, this woman is IshiYAH. And when you look up the word wife in Hebrew, the word is IshiYAH. IshiYAH, woman. From the man, which the word for man is Ish, and the word for woman is IshiYAH. So when a man gets a wife, this is a man. IshiYAH is indicative of your woman. So he called this person woman, for out of man was she taken.
Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh.
And they that were both naked, the man and his wife. and were not ashamed. She's his wife. Yahweh didn't say his girlfriend. They didn't have to date each other for 5 years for him to finally say, I want you to be my woman. They didn't have to explore each other for all this amount of time before he just said, you're my woman. Of course this was his woman. She was taken out of him. That's him right there. Everybody else after him gets all want to wax poetic. You my rib, baby, you my rib. But that was his real rib. That was his right there. And that's how you should treat your woman. She's made for you. And that don't mean every woman ain't made for you. That's not how that goes. So that don't mean I got to get every woman I can get. You get your woman. And that's yours. And it's called marriage. It's no other relationship the Creator even wants you to be getting into with the woman. Look in the book of the book of Leviticus, the 19th chapter, the 29th verse.
Do not prostitute thy daughter.
Don't sell your daughter.
To cause her to be a whore.
Don't sell your daughter as a sexual worker. That's what you're not supposed to do. Don't allow your daughter to go out there and be a commodity of sex.
Lest the land fall to whoredom.
If you do that, the land will fall to whoredom. Meaning you have just defiled the institution of marriage. You have just broken the way because you let your daughter be a prostitute. And instead of a man being honorable to an honorable woman, you allowed vile people to increase. Yes, just by having some prostitutes. So what do you think Las Vegas is? Where they allow prostitution legally. Now, of course, there's prostitution in every state of America. But Las Vegas said, we're just going to make it legal. So you go to Las Vegas and buy you a prostitute. So, of course, that whole land is the land of whoredom. And the Most High said, I don't want you to sell your daughter as a prostitute because you will commit the land to whoredom. People will stop thinking about the institution of marriage. Men will have an opportunity to say, well, I don't have to be responsible about my desire. I can just go buy me a girl and do what I want. I don't have to marry her. I don't have to build a house. I don't have to establish my house. I don't got to teach the laws of Yah to her. I can just go have fun and go have fun with somebody else tomorrow. And now the whole fabric of the community breaks apart. So the Creator made it a law and a commandment that you shall not prostitute your daughter. But the Quran tells you, hey, don't make people be prostitutes if they don't want to be prostitutes. But if they are, then the Creator is forgiven. What? That's what the Quran lets you know. That you don't make people prostitutes that do not want to be prostitutes. But if they want to be a prostitute, that's okay in the Quran. That means the land that the Quran is the book of choice is a land of whoredom. They're allowed to have whores in their book thinks it's okay. Which, of course, means their book is vile doctrine and vanity and not endorsed by Yahweh. The Creator doesn't respect relationships between men and women when they dwell together. That is not marriage. So if you're not married and you kicking it with that young lady and y'all living together and doing all the things married people should be doing, and you're not married, then you're violating the way of the Creator. Look at the book of Deuteronomy, the 24th chapter, so you can really see what married is. Deuteronomy 24, verse 1.
When a man has taken a wife,
Meaning when a man has acquired himself a woman
and married her,
and married her. When a man has taken a wife, in addition to this, married her, meaning he has now mastered her. Because when a man marries, he masters. And this all comes from the foundation of how the Creator began everything with what he told Adam and what he told his wife, Hawa, which you know as Eve. What he told Adam and Hawa was this. But hold that Deuteronomy. And in Genesis, the 3rd chapter, the 16th verse.
unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband.
So your desire is unto your husband. This word husband means master. In Hebrews, Baal. It means master. And why does it mean master? Your desire shall be unto your husband.
And he shall rule over thee.
That's why. Because he's a ruler. He shall rule over thee. This is why the man marries the woman. Because he now becomes a ruler over you. And so therefore, Yahweh only respects this relationship between this man and this woman when the man has made himself responsible to sit in the position as a ruler. And the only way to rule is the following. Keep reading.
And unto Adam he said,
And he said this unto Adam,
because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife,
because you listen to your wife,
and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying,
of which I commanded you, saying, meaning Yahweh is the one that commanded Adam, and he shouldn't have listened to no one else. If you look in the book of 2 Samuel, the 23rd chapter, I'm going to show you this mastery is not some lightweight responsibility. This is not what the Creator sees as frivolous, vain, and small. This is the most important role you can play as a man when you are taking a wife, because now you're about to be a ruler. And the ruler is responsible for everyone that he rules over. In the book of 2 Samuel, the 23rd chapter, the 3rd verse reads,
the Elohim of Israel said, the rock of Israel spake to me, he that rule over men must be just,
ruling.
in the fear of Elohim.
So you can't just be any old kind of ruler. You got to be a Yah-fearing ruler. That's the standard in the house of the Most High. All the rulers in the house of the Most High, all the masters in the house of the Most High should be in the fear of Yahweh. Look in the book of Exodus, the 18th chapter. Yahweh don't have it no other way. In Exodus chapter 18, start reading in verse 17.
And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, the thing that thou doest is not good. Thou wilt surely wear away, both thou and this people that is with thee. For this thing is too heavy for thee.
This is too much for you, Moses. You can't be the sole counselor of the entire nation for every issue. That's too much for you, Moses.
Thou art not able to perform thyself alone. Hearken now unto my voice. I will give thee counsel, and Elohim shall be with thee. Be thou for the people to Elohim, that thou mayest bring the causes unto Elohim.
Meaning you be the go-between for the nation and Yah. They come to you and you go to Yah. Go ahead.
And thou shalt teach them the ordinances and laws, and shall show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men.
So you go and get some able men. And don't think about being no husband if you ain't able. Get some able men.
Such as fear Elohim.
And these ain't no men that don't fear the Most High. They have to fear Elohim. It's the standard. Able men that fear Elohim.
Men of truth.
You don't want no lying but men.
Hating covetousness.
What you want a man that's covetous for? He desires your house, your wife. That's not what you want in a ruler.
And place such over them to be rulers of
These
thousands.
are rulers of thousands.
And rulers of hundreds.
These are rulers of hundreds.
Rulers of 50s.
Rulers of 50s.
And rulers of 10.
Meaning you don't have even the small chief. That's a chief over 10 men. He can't be a vile person. He got to fear Yah. He got to be able. He got to be a truthful man. He got to be a man that hates covetousness. Even the one that's ruling over 10. Even the husband that has one wife. You must be Yah-fearing. That's a master. Go back to Deuteronomy 24 and 1. This is how you put things into perspective when you're talking about the house of Yahweh. Because Yah's house, which is established through these institutions of marriage, it don't have a kaleidoscope of types of marriages. It has one way for marriage. And in Deuteronomy 24 and 1,
when a man hath taken a wife,
when a man takes a wife
and married her,
and now he's the master over her,
and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes.
Now this man that fears Elohim, that's a man of truth, that hates covetousness, that is an able man, he sees this woman that he's ruling over, and she now don't have no favor in his eyes.
Because he hath found some uncleanness in her.
Because she's unclean. And when someone is unclean, they have to go away. This doesn't mean she's unclean because she doesn't iron his socks. She's not unclean because she doesn't butter his toast. She's not unclean because she doesn't sew his hat. She's unclean because she's violating Yahweh's laws. And the first law that she has to respect and honor is that her husband is her master. In the book of Numbers, the 30th chapter, we go there. We have to acknowledge that Yahweh is our master. Yahweh is our Elohim. We are married unto Yahweh, and Yahweh does not have a different kind of marriage when it becomes a man and a woman. Oh, now the woman could rule him. No, that's not how that works. This is how it works, and this is how it is. Yahweh has one fashion for this marriage. And in Numbers, the 30th chapter, if you start reading in the second verse.
If a man vow a vow unto Yahweh.
No, start in the first verse. I want you to see what this says in verse 1.
And Moses spake unto the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel.
He spoke to the chiefs. He spoke to the rulers. He spoke to the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying,
This is the thing which Yahweh hath commanded.
If
a man vow a vow unto Yahweh, or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word.
That's not what you're allowed to do. And that's unfortunate for us, the children of Israel, today. We be promising things, and it's just like we tossing balled up papers in the trash. We don't keep this word, but this is very important. The Most High said, you shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth. Verse 3.
If a woman also vow a vow.
If a woman vow a vow
unto Yahweh, and bind herself by a bond.
Being.
In her father's house.
Who's the head of the house? That's the head of the house. Her father.
And her father hear her vow, and her bond wherewith she hath bound her soul, and her father shall hold his peace at her.
Meaning he done heard the vow, and he said, okay, cool.
Then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand.
She got to perform her vows as long as her father, who is the master, who is the chief. Father, Abba, means chief.
But if her father disallow her in that day, that he heareth not any of her vows or of her bonds wherewith she hath bound her soul, shall stand. And Yahweh shall forgive her, because her father disallowed her.
Right. So now, if he says, no, you're not about to do that in my house. And why? Because he's the ruler. He's responsible for this vow. So she cannot just start bringing on certain responsibility in his house, and he doesn't approve of it. Go ahead.
And if she had at all a husband.
Now, if she's married, meaning if she has a master, if she has a husband, if she has a ruler.
When she vowed or uttered aught out of her lips, wherewith she bound her soul.
And her husband hear it.
And held his peace at her in the day that he heard it, then her vow shall stand, and her bonds wherewith she bound her soul shall stand.
But if her husband
disallowed her on the day that he heard it, then he shall make her vow which she vowed, and that which she uttered with her lips, wherewith she bound her soul of none effect, and Yahweh shall forgive her.
Meaning he has the power to approve or disapprove of the vows of a grown woman because he rules over her. And this is how the marriage goes. And you can only have one master. You can't have 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 masters. That's why a woman can't have more than one husband. You only can have one master. A ruler can be a ruler over 10, over 20, over 50, over hundreds, over thousands. A ruler, one ruler, can rule over many. But you cannot be serving more than one master. That's not how that works. And when you're married, you have one husband. But he has to be a ruler. He cannot be some flimsy guy that doesn't know how to walk in the ways of Yahweh. Yahweh rules by judgment. Yahweh rules by order. Yahweh rules by his law. He doesn't rule by his emotions because that's not how you conduct business in Yah's house. If you look in the book of Genesis, the 18th chapter, we'll see how our ancestors behaved in this kind of relationship. And this is important to understand what it means to be married. It means you're in a covenant. And if you're in a covenant, you went into an agreement with another party. And in this agreement was made, and it should be made through the principle of honor. You don't just go into covenants and agreements with people that are dishonorable. That's not the way to do things. Somebody dishonors you, and then you go into a covenant with them. That's why we are oppressed today, because we are forced to make covenants with our oppressors, with our enemies. Yahweh said, just hold this Genesis and go to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, just to show you why we are messed up in the mind today anyway, and why we don't know the proper way to be married and to have relationships, because we have been trained in foolishness. And in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, start reading in verse 45.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee,
You're going to have a lot of curses come upon you,
and shall pursue thee,
and they'll pursue you,
and overtake thee,
and they'll overtake you,
till thou be destroyed.
as we are today,
Because thou hearkenest not,
because we didn't adhere, we didn't obey, we didn't listen unto the voice of Yahweh our Elohim.
to keep his commandments
We didn't keep his commandments,
and his statutes,
we didn't keep his statutes,
which he commanded thee,
and they shall be upon thee
for a sign,
and a wonder
and upon thy seed,
forever.
because thou servest not
Yahweh thy Elohim,
with joyfulness
of heart, with gladness and joyfulness of heart. Meaning what? You didn't serve Yahweh. We didn't serve him and be happy about it. Say, you didn't serve Yahweh your Elohim with joyfulness and gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. The Creator gave us land. He gave us mountains and valleys and hills, water just flowing down the hills, water in the earth, plenty of fruit and herbs, milk and honey. cattle, gold, silver, and jewels, wisdom and understanding, and we were depressed. We were unappreciative. Yahweh is just like anybody else that's ruling over a people and giving them everything, and they come back with a bunch of complaints, a bunch of disgruntled behavior, what they don't like, why they ain't got what them other people got, why don't they house look like they house, why don't they kitchen look like they kitchen, why don't they shoes shine like they shoes? They get to go out and do that. Why can't we get to go out and do that? He don't want to hear your complaints. And all Israel did was complain and beg to be like other people, and ignored and disregarded and just plain out spit at the blessings that Yahweh gave them. And he said, because you didn't do this thing with joyfulness and gladness of heart, therefore, verse 48,
thou shalt serve thy enemies.
you're going to have to serve your enemies. Since you don't like serving your ally, since you don't want to be a servant to the Elohim of all, to the great creator, you don't want to serve him, you're going to serve your enemies.
Which Yah shall send against thee.
And he going to send these enemies against us as he has.
In hunger.
You're going to have to serve them for your food. You hungry? Serve your enemies. And you're going to have to go into covenant with your enemy, and you're going to see how bad that is. In hunger.
And in thirst.
And in thirst.
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness. Meaning you want drink? You want water? You want clothes? You're going to have to make covenants with your enemies. Who in their right mind makes a covenant with their enemy? That's why when my enemy wants to give me money and let me buy a car and let me rent something, and they got these contracts and these terms, I don't really care what they say, because I know they my enemy. So if I don't pay, they're going to pursue me like a hound. And they're not going to stop. They're not going to respect the law of Most High that says you don't go out there and try to collect the debt. You let them come to you. That's your enemy ain't going to let you come to them. They ain't going to wait for you. They calling you on day 28 and it ain't due until day 30. They calling you, let you know, hey. That bill is due in 2 days. You like, daggone, it ain't due yet. Because you done went into a covenant with your enemy who is not honorable. So if you hungry, if you thirsty, if you naked, and for whatever you want, you have to go into a covenant with them for the want of all things.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
And he's going to enslave your tail.
Until he have been destroyed thee.
Until he's destroyed you. And then you're going to willfully knock on his door and say, let's make an agreement, enemy. How about you give me $1,000 and you'll charge me 25% of that $1,000 interest every year. Doesn't that sound great? No, it sounds horrible, and it's actually against the law. But we are doing it with our enemies because it's what Yahweh said we would do, because we didn't honor the covenant we were with him. So then, how else are you supposed to behave in this marriage that you're going to have with your wife, your woman? You're definitely not supposed to act like your enemies. Your enemies have taught you the wrong way to be married. Look in the book of Malachi, the 2nd chapter. In the institution of marriage is through covenant. And the process of being married, you're married when you have a ruler, someone ruling, and they have to be ruling in the fear of Elohim, people or men of truth, hating covetousness. And in Malachi, the 2nd chapter, look in the 13th verse.
And this have ye done again, covering the altar of Yahweh with tears, with weeping, and with crying out, insomuch that he regardeth not the offering any more, or receiveth it with goodwill at your hand. Yet ye say, wherefore? Because Yahweh hath been witness between thee and the wife of thy youth, against whom thou hast dealt treacherously.
That's how your enemies teach you to deal with your wife. Treacherously, unfaithfully. But in the book of Proverbs, the 20th chapter, verse 6 reads,
most men will proclaim every one his own goodness.
most men gonna tell you they the best husbands on earth. I'm a great husband.
But a faithful man.
But a non-treacherous man, that's what faithful means. You're not treacherous. A faithful man,
who can find?
you can't even find a faithful man. Meaning a faithful man is of Yahweh.
Seconds.
Unfaithful man is everywhere. You can find unfaithful, treacherous men everywhere because they're not ruling in the fear of Elohim. No, I know why a lot of women don't want to be married to a man that wants more than one wife. Because he's treacherous.
Seconds.
He don't have no faithfulness about him. He don't rule in the fear of Yah. Look what it says in the book of Deuteronomy, the 21st chapter. I'm going to show you what the Creator told us to do. Because Yahweh has a standard. His standard is that you operate through marriage. That's how you build your house. That's how you establish your house. You don't have children and you're not married. That's not the proper way. Because then they don't understand it. They don't see the proper order. You don't sell your daughter to be a prostitute and make the land fall to whoredom. That's not proper. This is Deuteronomy 21, start at verse 10.
When thou goest forth to war against thy enemies, and Yah thy Elohim have delivered them into thy hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman.
Now, you done seen among the captives this really beautiful woman. You said, man, she is beautiful. And, of course, this ain't no Canaanite. This is somebody else. You done seen a beautiful woman. You said, man, she's beautiful. And if you see that she's beautiful, that means you're attracted to her. You know how you go to the mall, to the game, or you're out in the street, you're in the hood, wherever, and you see a pretty lady, and you know what they do, start hollering at them. But this man sees a beautiful woman.
And has a desire unto her.
And then he desires her like you would any beautiful woman. Wow, look at her. Beautiful woman. I think I would like to talk to this person, get to know them, go on a date with them, become familiar with them. That's called a desire. What should you do? Should you go and get her digits, get her number, call her up, hit her up on Tinder? on the chat line, what is he going to tell you to do?
That thou would have her to wife.
You want her to be your wife. He didn't say nothing about making her your girlfriend, your one night stand, because that's what a treacherous man does. He said you would have her to be your wife. She's beautiful. You desire her. You want her to be your wife. Not, I'm just going to do my thing and leave her here. You would have her to be your wife, and what is the process?
Then thou shalt bring her home to
You
thine
bring
house.
her home. You need you a house. You got to have somewhere to live. Bring her home.
And she shall shave her head.
Because she's a foreigner. She got to shave her head.
And pare her nails.
She got to cut her nails.
And she shall put the raiment of her captivity from
She
off
ain't
her.
no prisoner of war, so you change her clothes.
And shall remain in thine house.
And she be in your house.
And bewail her father and mother.
And she'll mourn her father and her mother
a full month.
for 30 days.
And after that,
process is done,
thou shalt go in unto her.
then you go in unto her,
And be her husband.
and you'll be her master.
And she shall be thy wife.
And she'll be your woman. Because that is what you do if you see a beautiful woman, you desire her, you don't go on a date, you don't go on a one-night stand, y'all don't go to the club and get freaky deaky. Y'all don't do none of this stuff. You gonna have to become married. And there's a way to become married. But first, you got to know that if you get married, then somebody's going to be the master, and somebody is going to be the one under this master, walking in this governance. And this ruler got to be someone who fears Yah. If you're talking about how Yahweh does things, because that's what marriage is. There's mastery going on in marriage. And a master ain't some flimsy guy, ain't some frail person that is weak and doesn't know how to uphold the law of Yahweh. You dealing with somebody that fears Elohim, hates covetousness, loves truth, and teaches the law of Yah, dealing justly. That's who you want to be your master, because that's who will be the children's master. That's who you want to make covenants with, those that fear Elohim. And that's how the Most High has structured this institution of marriage. And furthermore, you'll learn this week how you even go into these covenants. Do you just walk up to the woman and say, let's make a covenant? Okay, we're in a covenant. Nah, you're going to have to deal with her master. Who's that woman's master before you become her master? Her father. You just can't take her off the streets and say, okay, we married now. No, you're going to have to get the proper permission so you can be a rightful master, a rightful ruler. And how do you rule? In the fear of Elohim, meaning you do what Yahweh tell you to do, because you're in a covenant with the Most High first, and you're just duplicating how Yahweh structures his house for your house. That's how you keep it holy. That's how you keep his praises in your house. That's how you make your house a house that Yahweh has built. And until tomorrow, Yahweh loves you very much, and so do I. Shalom.
I'm the messenger, Yah, stepping out of Beulah. From Babylon to Zion, my chains are looser in my mind. But out here, the jakes will shoot you. The judges judge for hire, the juries are straight liars. Just to see Israel fried up. They got our phones tapped and wired up. The police got you stuck. No one desires us. This law requires us to buy this man's trust. Pay to get salvation. Who you playing? But I pulled your card. I seen your stars. They false lights. My spirit spit lyrics so cold, your frostbite. And that's the attitude from your murderous plight, from your rapists every night, and young boys shot down in the street in they mama's sight. Your overseers call this the good life, like the hood's right, rep Zion, that's right, Yah's way, that's life. Ships of Tarshish, the glory of Lebanon will offload to Yah's land. That's what we stepping on. The next plane won't miss the Pentagon. The bees is dying, Florida is drying. Look like death coming to Babylon. The nation about to be born. A pure language giving the call on the name of Yah. All people will serve the sun, the black supremacist. No hippie on the stick, looking like Dennis the Menace. The demon is finished. When the wicked fall, the meek increase. Israel is free. Rejoice in the death of the beast. The resurrection of Yah's people. All your children will be righteous. Walking in Yah's likeness. Mirth and happiness. All glory in the land that Yah has blessed. See the truth manifest in Yah's and blessed.